Hello Internet, and welcome to another edition of Rules Bites here on Myth Brigade. My name is Jason and I'm going to be your talking head for this episode. For the newbies, Rules Bites is a series in which we break down the rules for various tabletop role-playing games into, you guessed it, bites. I made that up myself. The point here is that we help you learn these systems as we learn these systems. And we try to have a little bit of fun in the process. So don't take away points if we don't seem all that serious. In today's episode, we're going to continue our coverage of Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay 4th edition by Cubicle 7. Specifically, we're going to tackle advancement. Warhammer's framework for advancement is flexible and, in my view, pretty realistic compared to many systems. But with that realism comes quite a lot of complexity for the uninitiated. By the time we're finished here, though, you'll be spending those experience points like fate points in a fight with Nurgle himself. Not that Nurgle. Cut. When your character survives his or her adventures in the old world, you will receive rewards in the form of experience points, or XP for short. This is typically somewhere between 50 and 150 points, depending on the scale of the campaign and what you got yourself up to during the adventure. You may then spend those points to improve your character. Sounds simple enough, right? Wrong. Nope. Advancement in 4th edition comes in a variety of flavors. Characteristic advances, skill advances, talent advances, career transitions, and where relevant, spell memorization. Your options here and the cost of each are governed by your character's career and the level that you've achieved in that career so far. For this walkthrough, we will be using the Apothecary career, which is listed on page 53 of your core rulebook. Since you all own it, go ahead and open it up to that page and follow along. Let's start out with characteristic advances. A characteristic advance allows you to improve an individual characteristic, such as strength, toughness, fellowship, intelligence, and so on. Each advance in a characteristic gives you 1 point of improvement. These are very expensive improvements, but they have sweeping effects to any associated skills. This is because you're improving the base characteristic. When you begin play at first level of your career, your character can only improve a few characteristics. These are indicated by the black cross icon in the characteristics table for your career. At second level, you may continue improving those characteristics, which may also begin improvements to those indicated by the crossed axes. At third, those with the skull open up. And finally, at the last level or 4th level of your career, those characteristics with the shield. No, I'm not making that up. That's actually how it works. The cost of characteristic advances grows as the characteristic improves. So if you've never taken an advance in, say, strength, one improvement would only cost you 25 experience points. If you've taken 60 advances, an advance would cost a whopping 390 experience points. Check out the table on page 47 for the specifics on the progression and the associated costs. Next up, we have skill advances. Skill advances are fairly straightforward. You spend experience points to get better at a specific skill. As with characteristic advances, each advance purchased improves your skill by a single point. Likewise, the cost increases based on the number of advancements that you've taken in that skill so far. Skill advancements are cheaper though, because they don't have the same sweeping effect as a characteristic advance. Their effects are limited to that skill. Now, you can spend experience points to improve any skill from your current career level or those listed in the levels below. Costs for these are also in the table on page 47. Talent advances. Talent advances allow you to buy new talents or improve select talents that can be taken more than once. Talents must be chosen from those listed in your current career level or the career levels below that. So at level 3, our Apothecary can choose from Bookish, Master Tradesman, Resist Poison, Savvy, or any of the talents offered in the 1st or 2nd level for that career. Talents cost 100 experience points for the initial purchase Those that allow improvement are advanced at a cost of 100 XP plus an additional 100 per advance already taken. So 200, 300, 400, and so on. A special note on non-career advances. Occasionally, a GM may wish to allow a player to take a non-career advance or allow them access to something in another career. This would usually be because that character has been in a situation that might have forced some knowledge of that outside skill. Maybe our apothecary has spent the last month or so on a dangerous journey aboard a massive ship. This might have been enough to grant that character a shot at learning some shipwright skill or something like that. In any case, before making the decision to break the career lines, the GM should carefully consider the impact on the campaign and carefully justify why it was that the character had that opportunity. Advances taken outside of your career cost twice as much. You grow in your career by taking advances in your career's skills and characteristics. To move up a level, you must have taken a given number of advances in all that level's characteristics and in 8 of your current level's skills. You must also pick up at least 1 talent from your current career level. The target number for the advanced totals is 5 at first level, 10 at second, 15 at third, and 20 for fourth. You can find these in a table on page 48. But for the sake of example, to complete level 1, our apothecary must have taken 5 advances in toughness, dexterity, and intelligence, 5 advances in each of these skills, and grabbed at least 1 of these talents. Once all of this is done, we've completed the level. In Warhammer, though, we don't automatically move on to the next level. We have choices. I just want to get to second level. What if I don't want choices? Just want to be second level. First, we can remain right where we are and keep improving in the areas offered by our current level. This would be sort of like turning down a spot in the major league so that you can master the sport of t-ball, but if that's what you're about, you can do it. Next, we can elect to buy into the next career level. So from apprentice to apothecary for 100 additional experience points. This gives us access to all of the skills, talents, and characteristic improvements from the new career level. And remember any previous ones. Skipping levels is typically not allowed unless some major game event dictates it, in which case you can find guidance on page 49 for how to handle it. At some point, especially if you went with random character generation, you may want to change your career. If you've completed your current level, you may buy into the first level of another career within your class for only 100 experience points. You can also bail out of an incomplete career for 200 experience points, moving to the first level of a career in your class. If you choose to move to a career outside of your class, it's going to cost you an additional 100 experience points. Now, you can also use a career endeavor, which represents an extended effort between adventures. This makes the change free if you stay within your class and reduces the cost to 100 experience points to change class. Stay tuned for more information about endeavors in our next episode. Let's talk about status. Warhammer Fantasy 4th Edition provides 2 concepts to represent a character's status in society: the tier and the standing. The tier essentially represents the overall slice of society that the character belongs to. From lowest to highest, these are brass, silver, and gold. Think of this as the lower middle, upper middle, and upper classes that we divide our own society in today. The standing, which is represented by a number from 1 to 5, illustrates where in the tier the character fits in. So a silver 1 might indicate that the character has just clawed his or her way into a better societal place. As such, he or she might not completely be comfortable there and could have problems fitting in. A gold 5 might represent a king at the height of his power or an incredibly powerful noble that's at the top of his game. Both tier and standing change as you progress through a given career's levels. For example, our apothecary would actually start out at brass 3, but wind up in gold 2 if he sticks with the career all the way through 4th level. Talents can also modify status, and certain game events may do so as well. The latter, of course, is 100% up to your GM. Status actually affects a variety of skill areas like charm, entertain, intimidate, gossip, and leadership. This represents the tendency to embrace those of a higher status and shun those on the fringes of society. I would encourage GMs to think about using this in other ways as well. For example, trying to get information out of someone could be easier if the subject was close to your class. Combine the numbers with your player's roleplay to steer your NPC reactions. Feel free to have a gold 3 sneer at their attempt to gain entrance to the noble's party, or the brass 1 swear to serve them faithfully until death because they're just so rich. For the record, I think I might be a silver 1. What are you? Let us know in the comments below. And keep in mind that status must be maintained and has an associated cost of living. If a character fails to act in accordance with his or her status, or fails to earn and pay that cost, standing begins to slip at a rate of 1 point per week. This would probably cause all sorts of rumors in the local town about how that character's on a downward spiral and make for some pretty interesting roleplay opportunities. When standing drops to 0 in a given tier, your character actually slides to the 5th standing in the next tier down. Okay, that was silly. To recover, the character must resume the upkeep of his or her station, at which point the standing begins to climb at a rate of 1 point per week until the loss is restored. GM should feel free to use this moment as a way to introduce story elements, like maybe a debt to a powerful nobility or discreet favors owed to shadowy allies. This will let you weave further intrigue into the character's life and maybe even motivate future adventures. As you might imagine, status and standing both affect what your character earns. To earn money, a character must act in a capacity that's aligned with his or her current career, or in a way agreed upon with the GM. An average, or +20, earn test is then made using the italicized skill on the character's first level. This represents that character going out and doing that thing that he or she does, when they're not hunting monsters or fighting off villains. So for our apothecary, this is trade apothecary. If successful, you then roll on the table on page 52 to determine how much of your potential earnings you get. Note that you roll the dice listed once per standing in your career. So a silver level 2 would roll 2d10 instead of the 1d10 listed in the table. Note that the earn check is only necessary if the character is attempting to raise cash during an adventure. Say when their other companions are on some form of errand that is going to take an extended time. An income endeavor can be used if there's a sensible break between adventure, thereby kind of negating the roll. That's about it for now. While the system may seem a little bit complex, it's all about improving characteristics, improving skills, buying talents, and then driving your character's career choices from there. Certainly, it's not as simple as level 1, level 2, level 3, level 27. Oh, Jesus, what am I fighting now? Gods or something? But I hope we've at least demystified some of the complexity. Join us next time when we tackle a request from Riker 146 and talk about endeavors, events, and other stuff that you can do between adventures. I mean, you can technically do whatever you want between adventures, but there's a system for it, so. Let us know if there are any topics that you would like us to cover on Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay 4th edition, or if there are other games that you would like us to dissect with a series of rules bites. As always, we'd appreciate your support by smashing that like button and subscribing to the channel. It may seem trivial, but it really helps us grow and stay relevant inside of the mystical YouTube algorithm. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch, and until next time, happy advancing.
Level up!